Hey guys, Joe here. I wanted to take a few minutes to walk through the integration that we have between Tyler SIS 360 and Google Classroom. Now, many teachers are using Google Classroom for their online platforms for content delivery to their students. That's where a lot of us are putting all of our content by units out for the students. Some of us are giving tests that way through Google Forms or through another application linked in Google Classroom. But then our grades, the students' grades and their parent portal are all located for our school district in Tyler SIS 360. So sometimes it becomes redundant when we have to generate an assignment twice, essentially. Although we're only presenting it to the kids once, we have to make it in Google Classroom, and then again, we go over to SIS and we have to generate the assignment, at least by name and point value and description, in Tyler SIS. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk through integrating these two tools together so that you can generate all of your assignments and all of your grading system in Google Classroom itself, and then how you import that directly into Tyler SIS 360 rather than having to go through and generate it again. It's great because this works with the formulas that you set up in Tyler for your class. So once you assign points in Google and you go through and grade it, you can import the grades directly to SIS. So let's get started. Okay, so this is what we used to do. We used to go into Tyler, into our classroom, and then you can see I've grayed out the names. This was one of the classes that I had this last year. And we'd get into here under the Scores tab. Once we've selected a class and we've got scores, assignments, categories, etc., etc. But we go under the scores and then we come down here to where it says add assignment, and then we click on that. And then that takes us to this page. And here is kind of the concise, short version of how we go about adding an assignment. We select a category, and we can have multiple categories. I really only used two. I used homework, and that was everything from take-home work to projects to regular in-class assignments to participation grades and everything, and then just allotted a point value is how I did them, or tests. And again, you can have tests, final exams, you can have quizzes, you can have daily participation, etc., all in these categories. So like I said, I usually did homework, so you pick a category of what the assignment that you're posting is, a sequence you can kind of ignore, and then a quick summary. So you have to type in a description of what the assignment is, you have to do a date that it was assigned, and then you have to do a due date. Then you have to have how many points it was possible, and then if you're using the weighting, you can certainly use that as well. Now, if you want to create multiple assignments quickly, then you just click on this Save and New, and that will open this back up after it's presented or after it's generated that assignment by description and whatnot. Now, you can click all fields down there, this arrow here on the bottom left, and that will take you to a screen that looks like this. And this one's a little bit better. You can do a little bit more with it. You see you can actually attach a PDF or a Word doc of the assignment itself. So if you wanted to do that so that the kids or their parents could see what the assignment is, then you can certainly do that. And then over here, if you want to assign it to multiple classes, you can do that as well. So you would just go through, click all the classes that this would apply to. You can show it on the parent or student portal, or you can select not to do that. And then you can duplicate or have a reoccurring assignment. So if you have a weekly quiz of 5 points, then you can make that reoccurrence in this location. Okay, so that's the way that things used to be done. Now the Google way, the way that we do things in Google Classroom, is a little bit different. So here I've already selected one of my classes. Okay, this is my astronomy meteorology class that I had first hour last year. And you go to when you click on the class or when you enter the class in Google Classroom, you get these tabs up here at the top, all right, as the instructor. And under the classwork tab, once you select that, you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, these are the areas that I had, okay? So I had a course materials, and then I had several different units that we were teaching the material through. And then you'll just click on this Create button. And once you click on that Create button, that will give you multiple options. Now, this is one of the many great things about Google Classroom is that you can reuse posts from this class or from other classrooms that you have. You can just generate some material to share. So if you want to just share notes, if you're sharing a Nearpod or what have you, you can do that this way. If you just want to pose a question that's not a graded assignment to the classroom, you can do that. Or you can make a quiz or test, and you can make a regular assignment. So for our purposes, we're going to demonstrate this under assignment. Now, when we click our assignment, okay, we're going to, let's slide tabs over just a little bit, and let's actually see what this looks like, okay? So we're going to go create, and we're going to go assignment. Now, you've got a bunch of things, just like what we saw a moment ago in SIS 360, okay? You can name it, so name my assignment, and then you can put down your instructions. Do this first, do this second, all right? And then you can, right from this assignment page, if you haven't already generated the content that you would like the students to utilize during this assignment, you can certainly do that. Whether it's any of those Google Suite properties. You can also add something from a file. You can add a video to it. So if it's an assignment where you need them to follow some video instructions, or if you're going to present it while you want to present it yourself, record it, and then put it on YouTube, then you can share that. If you just want them to have a video there and then you want to attach a worksheet with it, if you whatever it is you need to do, you can do YouTube, you can do a file from your computer, PDF, Word doc, any file. You can generate a link. So if you're using an interactive website or a simulation, then you can certainly do that, or something from your drive. So you can do all those things right here. Now, over here, this is where you select which classes this is for, just like we saw a moment ago in SIS. All right, you just click all the ones to which this would apply. You need to assign a point value. Now, this is where you really need to pay attention to what you're doing so that you can import it, because if this part goes wrong, these next two steps, then it can be a little bit of a challenge to import. So if you select 0, okay, or ungraded, all right, you can still import it, but you'll have to check an extra box. So if you want to make an ungraded assignment, you certainly can do that, but for our purposes here, we're just going to call this 100 points, doesn't really matter. And then you do need to assign a due date. It will not import things that don't have a due date, okay? So now our grading term has already taken place for the semester, and you guys are watching this now in the fall, preparing for this upcoming year. So I'm going to go ahead and retroactively make this assignment due on the 30th of April. And then topic, you can assign a topic so that it will become nested in one of those areas as soon as you open up the coursework section, okay? You can also attach a rubric if you choose to do that. You do not have to do that. And if you want to use originality reports, you can do that if that's something that you're comfortable with. Now, let's say that you've got a classroom composed of multiple types of students. Maybe you've got some on an AP track and some that are not. You can select this student pull down, and just like the class pull down, that will give you a list of your roster, and you can just go through and select each one. Maybe it's a makeup assignment for somebody that didn't do it, or a test retake. You can certainly do that way also. Now, when you've got this page how you want it, you've got your assignment generated, you've added all of the content that you would like, you've added your worksheets, you've made your new worksheets, what have you, then you can just click assign and it will immediately become posted to the entire class. Or you can come over here and you could schedule an assignment. Now, if you don't like either of those and this is something that you're just working on for a future unit and you're not quite ready yet, then you just hit save draft, and this will maintain itself in the current state in which you leave it. So if you're got an idea for an assignment but it's a little conceptual right now, or you need to make something else, you decide as you're going through things, then this is where that would come into play. Okay, now we've already made our assignment, and so we've got one here called example assignment. Okay, so now when I click on example assignment right here, I'm going to see that I've got 28 of them assigned and 1 turned in. So apparently somebody from last year got the notification when I did this and went ahead and clicked completed. So I'm not going to click on view assignment at this time. We'll use the presentation because I don't want to see names pop up here. But this view right here will show you how many have been assigned, how many have been turned in. So if I click on turn in, it will take me to a list of all the students that have turned it in, and I can grade it right from there, and I can see their submissions that they've attached. If I click on assigned, it will show me a list of everybody that has been assigned the work but hasn't yet submitted it. Okay, if I want to go back and see the assignment for myself, if I want to go over it in class after it's been posted, and I want to walk through it with the students, then I would click that. If I need to edit it, then I would just come up here and I would hit edit. If it's something that I didn't need to have, I could hit delete. And if I wanted to share this with a colleague or something like that, I could do that as well. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation here. All right. So here is a look at what you get when you click on view assignment. Once I click on view assignment, it will take me to the assignment roster. Okay, and this on the left side, I've cropped it out, will give me all of the students to which this assignment has been assigned. Now, the checkbox just above this will generate once someone has turned it in, and it will say submitted. And then over here, you can actually see something kind of similar to that. And if I click on this, it will show me that student's work. You can grade directly from this page. You can also go to the file folder that has all of the submissions in it, and you can deal with that if you would like to. Now, when it becomes time to grade it, you can either do it in that page, or if you want to do it as a completion grade, or you just want to see that they checked it in, you need to go back, and maybe you're just using this as a grade book. Maybe they're doing a paper assignment, and all you want to do is utilize this as a grade book so that they can track it, so that you can assign it, email it, continue to work with the Google Suite. Then you can do your stuff from the Grades tab. Now, if you click on the main section of Google Classroom where it says grades there, which we have highlighted, it will look something like this. Now, we've got our example assignment that we generated today, okay, and over here it'll be blank, and then we've got some older assignments here, and then our class names have been covered up so that we don't share those with anybody. Now, you can see who has submitted it and who hasn't. Now, these have all been graded. Usually it'll just say submitted and it'll be blank. It will not be a red missing. A red missing is just a kind of a flag indicator for us to know who has not submitted stuff. So you can see I had a few of those in my last class. Now, when I click on the little dots here, the little dot tray, I can get a couple things. I can return this once I have graded it, or I can view the submission from here. So if I'm doing this as a completion grade, or if I'm grading something on paper and I need to use this as my grade book, then I can certainly just put it down and then go through once I'm done, and I can return all of them. I can return just a few of them. I can go by and do it one by one, or I can leave them blank and go on from there. Now, the ones that say draft, means it's been graded, but it wasn't returned to the student, so that step hasn't yet been taken. Okay, now when these two products come together, okay, so let's say that I've generated my content in Google Classroom. I have my courses in SIS that my parents and my students need to see. So now I want to incorporate or import all of those assignments or an assignment from Google into Tyler SIS 360. I'm going to go to, this will be my home page of my courses for this last year, and this is where I will be able to do the import process. Now, in order for this to take place, one little caveat is that you must have your classroom linked with your Tyler SIS classroom. And so what I mean by that, on these three dots right here that we're kind of playing with today for this class, if I go down here to Google Classroom, okay, that's going to give me two options. If I haven't yet put a class linked to this, a Google Classroom class linked to this class in SIS, then it will say create a new Google Classroom or link to current Google Classroom. And that's where I can select one of those based on what's going on here. If you click make a new Google Classroom based on this roster in Tyler SIS, then it will do just that. It will name it according to this title here. All right, and then it will import the roster from Tyler SIS into that Google Classroom page. Now, we've already done all of those things because we're pretty far along at this point. In fact, the semester's over. And this step that we're going over today is for what's beyond that. So now when I click on Google Classroom here, we'll see something different because we've already been linked together, our Google Classroom and our Tyler SIS Classroom. So what we're going to see instead is something that says this. Now, when you initially click this, or when this comes up, you're going to see a few things. This will be a pop-up window on top of your Scores tab that we saw earlier. Okay, so again, I've cropped that out so that we wouldn't see all the students' names. But what we're going to see here is a list of assignments. These have already been imported into Tyler. They've been designated, and I let them pick. I'm not real worried about the designation code, but you can see what type they are, their homework style. And then it will give you this right here, this little warning. Assignments exist for which the due date is either blank or it's outside the section date. So this one right here didn't have a due date. That means I cannot import it into Tyler SIS. All right, so just be aware of that, and that'll be a good indicator if, hey, you posted something and you forgot to click a due date. Go back and do that first. Once you do that, you will just go over here. Excuse me, this box will disappear, and then you will just get this back page here, and you just select all of the ones that you need to update. So let's say that you've already imported one and you're importing a new one. If you've updated some grades in Google Classroom, plus you've added a new assignment in Google Classroom and graded it, then you just go ahead and you click each box that you need to update from Google Classroom and get it current in SIS. So this may be something that you do on a weekly basis. Maybe at the end of a unit, you just want to go through and select everything for that unit, whatever it is. So here you can see the one that we've been playing with today. So I would go through and I would select that one. Now it hasn't been imported yet, and you know that because it doesn't have an assignment designation number here. Okay, it doesn't say HWK for homework, and it doesn't have a number. All right, once I checkbox that and I bring it in, it will give me this, and it'll say select a category. Okay, and so here's my example assignment that we made in Google Classroom, and I want to make this a homework assignment. So I get to categorize it, and those are the only 2 active categories I have, but if you use more, daily participation, bell ringer, whatever it is, it will give you those as well there. So you just want to select the right thing so that it formulates correctly as it imports. All right, and then once we do that, it will take you to that scores tab with everything brought into it just as it is in Google Classroom. Now, the only thing that it will not bring in is attachments that you've put into the assignment, but it will put in the assignment title, it will put in the due date, it will put in the current grade as it exists in Google Classroom, and it'll be updated to its most current version every time that you hit import. Now, if you go back to Google Classroom after you've done this and update a grade, you do have to re-import it. It will not automatically update in Tyler SIS. So that's something important to know. Sometimes a kid will come up and say, hey, what's going on with this? I did it. I see that it's updated in Google. It's not updated on my report card, or maybe they don't even understand the difference and they'll say this isn't graded. Then you can just make sure that we're staying on top of that and the 2 things are going according to plan. So I hope this has been beneficial. A short professional development opportunity for us, a short training on how to incorporate Tyler SIS and Google Classroom from a grading standpoint. So hopefully this is giving you a little bit deeper understanding of how these things work together, and certainly hope that it has been of value. Thank you for paying attention, and good luck in the future.